Xiii from YAH'S Assembly. Let's get into it. Hey, Bam. I mean, not Bam, Joe.
Oh,
Joe, can you lead us in prayer?
Did it again.
Oh, man.
Hallelujah. Thank you for bringing us together today. Thank you for waking us up this morning to enjoy another day. And Abiyah, I just ask for you to give us the strength to continue to serve you, Abiyah. And I ask for discernment as we get into this word, understanding as we get into this word, Abiyah, so we can be able to do your will. In your name I pray. Yah, shalom.
Shalom.
So y'all know we've been going over a sound mind. So the one thing, okay, so the title today is Sound Mind 13, Hezekiah's Faith, Marpe, the branches of healing. So what's the one question I'm asking y'all every time?
What is
Sound mind?
So what are your answers?
Sound mind. So from what I've learned so far, self-discipline.
Okay, what was that word? The Greek one.
I don't remember which word it falls on. Which
Sophronismos, it's on the screen.
But maybe was it Marpe that was healing?
Right,
Or-
right.
yeah.
But we just focus on the first one you said. You said
Self-discipline.
sophronismos.
Okay.
Self-discipline, self-control. This one we're going to talk about today too.
Okay.
Sophronismos, right? And then the other one was what? We had tamim. What did tamim mean? Tamim.
I have it written down.
It means complete, wholesome sound, having integrity without fault, wholesome, unimpaired, innocent, complete or entirety in accord with truth, right? And then of course lib is just your inner man. And then what was the last one? You had just said it. Marpe. What does it mean?
It's the healing, cure.
It's the what?
The cure, healing,
Cure.
help.
The cure. That's good. That's good. It didn't start recording. Oh, tell me I gotta do it all over again. Oh.
You gotta do all of them.
Yeah, it didn't start recording. I'm just having computer issues today. Try this again.
Alright, I'm still rolling.
That's
Is
so
that
weird.
better?
Commercial break.
It's the, I don't know what's going on with this
Commercial break.
thing.
Brought to you by.
Brought to you by Arby's. No pork.
None at all. At all.
Funny, Devin. What is wrong with the screen? Why is it like that?
I don't know what's going on.
It's broke.
So we're gonna have to do this.
Oh, cause it's projected off.
Oh, so that's not it. This won't even work without it. You can't even record without it. Okay. I'm gonna have to do it that way now. Technical difficulties all day today, but we're gonna make it work. Okay.
All the cameras do is rolling.
Okay. So I'm gonna pray this time. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We ask for forgiveness of our sins and for the sins of our ancestors. We ask for you to give us the understanding. That way we can be better vessels for you and better beacons of your light, Father. We ask for you to create in us clean and contrite hearts, minds, and spirits, Father. And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those that trespass against us, Father. And lead us not unto temptation, Father. And deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. So, this is a Sound Mind, Part 13, Hezekiah's Faith. Apologize, been having technical difficulties all day. The subtitle, again, this is Hezekiah's Faith. The subtitle is Marpe, the branches of healing. Okay. So we just went over what is the sound mind. The first word is sophronismos. It means self-discipline, self-control. Right? What was the next one? It was tamim. Tamim And what does tamim mean? Completeness, wholesome, sound, with integrity, innocent, can mean healthful. It can mean healthful. And then leb is just your inner man. Okay. And the last one was marpe. What does marpe mean?
Healing, cure, and health.
Right. Your healing, your cure, your health, your remedy. Sound, pure, wholesome. Right? And then ball, again, is your inner man. So last Shabbat we talked about Hezekiah. We're going back to Hezekiah again. So we're going to go to Isaiah 38.
Oh, wow. Pink.
Mhm.
We're already at Isaiah 37.
All right. Isaiah 38. And we're going to start at verse 1. It says, "In those days was Hezekiah sick unto death. And Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos, came unto him and said unto him, Thus saith Yahuwah, set thine house in order, for thou shalt die and not live." So what did the Son of Man of that day just say to the king Hezekiah?
Put your house in order, or you shall die.
Or?
Or you're gonna,
Does this say or?
it says, for thou shalt die and not live.
So
He didn't say or.
he said for. So he's told him you're going to die.
Right.
Now, we've been focusing on the sound mind. We know that a sound mind means healing through marpe.
Mm-hmm.
And through tamim can also mean healthful. So in this situation or in this circumstance, he has two options. What are his two options? Just your opinion. What do you think his two
You
options
either
are?
gonna set your house in order, or you're gonna die.
Get your mind right. God.
Right. So now remember, Isaiah says, "Thus saith Yahuwah." So this is the word coming from Yahuwah that he's going to die. Now let's see if Hezekiah believes that report or if he has to do something. Okay. Let's go to verse 2. "Then Hezekiah turned his face toward the wall and prayed unto Yahuwah." He turned into the wall. It's a little strange. We're going to get into what that actually means later. Not yet. We're going to get into what that actually means. Right?
Okay.
Verse 3. "And remember," and said, okay, this I'm praying to Yahuwah, and said, "Remember now, O Yahuwah, I beseech thee, have I walked before thee in truth? How I have walked before thee in truth, and with a perfect heart, and have done that which is good in thy sight." And Hezekiah wept sore. So he's using Za'ak, he's crying out to the Most High, right? He's using his pay action, right? He's crying out to the Most High because the Most High gave Isaiah a word that he's going to die. Get your affairs in order, set up one of your sons as the next king, you over with, you dead, right? In these circumstances. Now, it doesn't really give us a time frame when this happens, but verse 4 says, "Then came the word of Yahuwah to Isaiah, saying," so after he's given this prayer, to the Most High, we don't know how many times he had to give it, what else he had to do. But after he says this, the word of Yahuwah comes to him. Okay? So, really quickly, we're going to go to 2 Kings 20, and we're going to read verses 2 through 5. Because we're going to hear what the word of Yahuwah was. It's going to be on the screen. And June, when you see it, go right ahead.
Then he turned his face to the wall and prayed unto Yahuwah, saying,
Hold on. So, he turned his face to the wall. Do you have your app open?
Yeah, but I'm not there yet.
Okay. 2 Kings 20, verse 2.
2 Kings 20, verse 2. And the wall.
Right. Now, if you look at it, it's going to tell you it's not just a wall. One of the definitions says it's the altar. So he was turning towards the altar. He was already in Jerusalem, so he was turning towards the most holy place, even in Jerusalem.
It says wall of house or chamber, the sides of the altar.
The altar. So he was turning to Yahuwah with his whole heart, right? Now keep going. Because he knows the law of prayer, because he's in captivity. He got a death sentence. He's going to die in his own mind, in his own body. So he's in captivity. So he's using the law of prayer, right? Okay, keep going.
I beseech thee, O Yahuwah, remember now how I have walked before thee in truth and with a perfect heart, and have done that which is good in thy sight. And Hezekiah wept sore. And it came to pass, afore Isaiah was gone out into the middle court,
So before he could even leave fully,
that the word of Yahuwah came to him, saying, Turn again and tell Hezekiah, the captain of my people, Thus saith Yahuwah, the Elohim of David, thy father, I have heard thy prayer, I have seen thy tears. Behold, I will heal thee. And on the third day thou shalt go up unto the house of Yahuwah.
so Yahuwah just changed his mind. Yahuwah just told him he was going to die.
Told him he was going to die.
But he used his words, his mouth, his pay action, his faith, the law of prayer to the Most High, and then the Most High just gave him a good report. He said that he's going to heal him because he's heard his prayers and seen his tears, right?
Mm.
That's the one thing we're still not doing. A lot of people that are dealing with certain things, they're not really calling out to the Most High.
Running to him first.
That was the first thing he did. He heard the report, and that was the first thing he did.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? That was the first thing he did. Like, well, I know you saying that, but let me turn towards the Most High, because I know his eyes is always at his altar. Let me get before his face and give him my takina, my prayer for favor, right? That's the first thing that he did. And then you see the Most High said that he's going to heal him, right? Bong, boom, bam.
Thank you, man.
Right? So what saved him?
It's paid.
Hmm?
It's faith.
His actions, his faith.
His faith, right?
Yeah.
You know, we was going over pay action, faith in action, all that stuff. We'll get back to that eventually. So that takes us back to Hebrews 11, verses 1 and verse 6. Jessica, if you don't mind.
Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him.
Because Hezekiah had faith that he could still live, he cried out to the Most High. And the Most High healed him, right? Supernaturally healed. He said he's going to get up on the third day, right? Healed him. Keep going. Mark 9:23.
Yahushua said unto him, If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth.
Do you think that he had to have belief that the Most High could do it? Because Isaiah was the prophet. He was the son of man of that time frame. And he told him, Thus said Yahuwah, man, hey, you dead, man, it's over with. You know, you can cancel Christmas on it. It's over with, you know. All right, keep going. Matthew 17, verse 20.
And Yahushua said unto them, Because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, ye shall say unto the mountain, Remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. That's little. The little mustard seed we plant.
Yeah. Very little. And the Most High said that he would heal him. Because he was humble enough to cry. To call out.
He beseeched him first.
Right.
He didn't go to no soothsayer, no sorcerer, no witch, no doctor. He went to the Most High first.
To the Most High first. To the Most High first, right? Okay. Let's go back to Isaiah 38, right? And we're going to pick up on verse 5. And it reads, Go and say to Hezekiah, this is Isaiah again, the Most High speaking to Isaiah, Thus saith Yahuwah, the Elohim of David thy father, I have heard thy prayer, I have seen thy tears. Behold, I will add unto thy days 15 years. So not only did he heal him, he added 15 years to his life. So 15 represents healing or a rebirth. We know we're supposed to come as a child to the Father, and we get life. He got life. You know, we know that he wasn't in adultery. You know, like when we had the lesson about from Yahusha, from Jesus to Yahusha, Xiii, adultery in the name. He didn't have it because he believed it. He didn't have to know, to physically see the Son in order to get that manifested to him, because he believed in the power behind it. Go ahead.
And he said, Come as a child unto him. That's exactly what Hezekiah did when he received word of what those armies coming to kill him or take over his kingdom. He stripped all his garments and went up to the temple, started praying.
That's deep.
Yep, as a child, because he's a father. Your
Showed
father
up.
ain't gonna try to
I
save
mean,
his
he
child.
didn't show up completely naked. He had his undergarment
Yeah,
on,
you
but
know.
he showed up. He stripped all his clothes off and had his loincloth on. But
Wow, that's a really deep spiritual thing, because you're just literally saying, I don't care about these things. I need you now. Wow.
Because there's no one else that can save him.
Right.
The Most High, he had literally just told him through Isaiah that you're gonna die, man. It's over with, man. Your days with men are in this earth is over with. Like, but he didn't believe that report, because he believed that Yahuwah is, and he's a rewarder of those that diligently seek him, right? We got to stop believing reports of doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, pediatricians, I don't know, heart doctors, whatever it is. We got to get back to leaning on the Most High as our creator. We got to stop listening to the media, to a president. No, I'm not going to have a beer and get a jab. I'm not going to do it.
get a jab and get a free beer.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get a free joint to get a jab. I'm not going to do
going
it.
to go to school for free either to get a jab. I don't
No.
know what it is.
No, I'm
Hey, we get to go see that new baseball game that's coming up. You know, so, I mean,
no.
we can see it for free if we get jabbed up.
And I'm not going to Six Flags
No,
for
thank
free to get the jab. I'm not going to do that, because we know that through our faith in the Most High and through more pay, because that means healing.
Right.
Because he still, so just because the Most High said that, does that mean that was all that had to be done, or did he have to believe the word, the second word that came to him? He still had to believe it. He still had to do something.
And he still, yeah, right. And he still had to ask, he's open your page. Even if it's just that of opening your mouth and diligently seeking him and praying that over yourself and having faith that it's going to happen. It works too. That's what, like, as my testimony, like, you know, people who know me, they're just like, you've been through so much, how do you get through it? How do you do this? I'm like, I refuse to let this be who I am when I know that I am the child of the Most High. So I know if I'm going through something, as they would say, I know I can get through it because he's going to heal me. He's been healing me, and I'm still going. So I was like, it's just that faith.
That mustard
My
seed.
grandma always told me to keep the faith, no matter what. Before I even knew the Most High, before I even had a spiritual relationship, she told me, before she passed, like, you always keep the faith. Always put God first. And that's what I did. Even when I didn't know. But it works.
Hallelujah. Okay. So again, 15 years, right? Okay, verse 6. And I will deliver thee and this city out of the hand of the king of Assyria, what June was talking about, and I will defend the city. So this sickness unto death was happening around the same time where the king of Assyria and then was talking crazy about the Most High. So he wasn't even in health at that time. And he still was like, nah, I know my rock. I know my shield and my buckler. I know what the full armor of Yahuwah can do, right? And I will defend this city. And this shall be a sign unto thee from Yahuwah, that Yahuwah will do this thing that he hath spoken. Behold, I will bring again the shadow of the degrees, which is gone down in the sundial of Ahaz, that was his father, 10 degrees backward. So the sun returned 10 degrees, by which degrees it was gone down. So he made the sun literally go backwards, right? And Isaiah, if you're reading Chronicles or different accounts, Isaiah cries out to the Most High. So the Most High does this thing, because when we cry out, we activate the Most High, right? We got to cry out. We can't just be idle. You know, we got to be activating the Most High. So I'm going to ask you this question. So the Most High said that he would heal him. How? Don't read ahead either.
No, I thought we might have went over that already.
Right, I was looking back. So we haven't went over this yet then? So we haven't went over this yet?
I didn't say
To
that.
diligently seek him.
From what we know, how we're diligently seeking
Yep. Added
Prayer.
15 years to his life.
and believe that what's going to happen to him will happen to him.
Okay. Okay. Let's keep going. June, go ahead. Verse 8.
Verse
9.
8.
9.
The writing of Hezekiah, king of Judah, when he
Had been.
had been sick and was recovered of his sickness.
So while he was sick, up until he got delivered, he was writing, right? Okay, so let's see what he was writing.
Oh, okay, that's what, parentheses or something. But said, in the cutting of
Off.
the cutting off of my days, I shall go to the gates of the grave. I am deprived of the residue of my years.
So right now, he's in anguish, he's in pain. He's sad because he got that report from Isaiah saying that he's going to die. And he's talking about going down to the gates, in death. His life has been cut short, is what he's crying out about. He's not happy, And it's okay when we go through things to get it out. Don't just hold it in and let it fester and then just wallow, right? Okay, keep going.
Said, I shall...
I said.
Oh, no. Oh, that is I said?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. I thought that was parentheses or something. I said, I shall not see Yahuwah, even Yahuwah in the land of the living. I shall behold man no more with the inhabitants of the world.
So, even with him crying out to the Most High, that fear of death was gripping a hold of him, right? So again, he has fight or flight. He's got two options. Keep going.
Mine age is departed, and is removed from me as a shepherd's tent. I have cut off like a weaver my life. He will cut me off with pining sickness. From day even to night wilt thou make an end of me.
So notice he said that he cut off his life like a weaver, right? And he's saying that the Most High will cut it off. Why did he cut off his life? He's talking about himself. He said, I have cut off like a weaver my life. Just marinate on that, okay? Marinate on that. So what law or laws is Hezekiah using? You don't have to answer right now, but just think about it. Because we've been talking about them.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep going, okay? Go ahead.
13. I reckon till morning, that as a lion, so will he break all my bones. From day even to night will thou make an end of me.
So, everything is hurting. It's not just like his head, it's everything. He's like, the Most High is just going to break everything in me, right? Okay.
Like a crane or a swallow, so did I chatter. I did mourn as a dove. Mine eyes fail with looking upward. O Yahuwah, I am oppressed. Undertake for me.
So, what does he mean by I am oppressed?
I am oppressed. Like, just overwhelmed with all of this pain that he's going through.
Right. So, in today's day, they would call it anxiety or depression.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like a constant 24/7 torment that he's dealing with.
Because he's seeing all the stuff that's happening to him, and he's just, take me now. That's why he wrote himself off early, right?
Right. So, even with him dealing with all these things, he's still crying out to the Most High. And the Most High, for our people, we have to grumble in order for the Most High to really move. Because we were in captivity in Egypt for how many hundreds of years? And then once that cry finally got to a certain fever pitch with the Most High, with our grumbling, he finally did something, right?
He remembered us.
Exactly. He remembered his covenant with our forefathers. So he's in captivity again to the pain in his body and through his mind. Like he's literally at the gates of hell or Sheol right now in his mind. He's being oppressed. There's demonic forces trying to rule over his mind.
By his own illness.
Right. That's why it was always Paul and David's faith. Because the battle, they always say the battle's not against flesh and blood, right? But principalities and powers, right? But that battle's in the mind.
It's within.
Right. It's in the mind. So That's why Paul talks about there's two laws warring in your members, right? The law of the commandments of the Most High, the law of God, and then the law of sin and death. Well, that law of sin and death is a lack of having faith, right? That's your fear. That's that torment and anguish taking hold of you because that's where you're putting your faith in, right? And because Paul even says that what is not of faith is of sin. Now remember, he just said that he cut off his own life like a weaver, right? So there were times when that fear or that lack of faith or the faith in his downfall or his death had taken hold on him. But let's see what he if he stays there, or if he finally goes and gets that other form, if he finally grabs hold of Marpe, right? Okay. And go ahead, you're on 15.
What shall I say? He hath both spoken unto me, and himself hath done it. I shall go softly all my years in the bitterness of my soul.
So he's still talking about he gonna die.
He's still talking negative.
Woe is me. Right. Woe is me. Okay.
O Yahuwah, by these things men live, and in all these things is the life of my spirit. So wilt thou recover me and make me to live?
So he made a choice to believe the report. He made that choice. And then his focus changed. Because if you keep focusing on those negative things, you're going to get those negative circumstances. Again, this is Hezekiah's faith. This is Marpe, the branches of healing. The branches of healing. Okay? So, I'm going to go, he was using the law of faith, right? Mm-hmm. And to speak things that are not as though they were, right? So, Romans 4, verse 17. As it is written, I have made thee a father of many nations. Before him whom he believed, even Elohim, who quickeneth the dead, and calleth those things which be not as though they were. We know, I know we know these things, but there's other people that don't believe it.
Speak it into existence.
Right, they don't believe in these things because they just talk about anything, all kinds of crazy. Okay, Proverbs 18 verse 21, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof.
And that's such a popular verse, but do you truly believe? I mean,
do you understand it?
Right.
Yeah, like,
it has so much.
Because like with all like get understanding, but people don't understand it. Like they just talk so reckless about anything detrimental to them, and they wonder why they just keep attracting those things. They keep manifesting those
sowing
things.
that seed into your life.
Yeah.
Like there's so much deliverance, there's so much power in that one verse. They take it for granted. That's why I keep telling my kids, like, don't, like some of the slang they use nowadays, I'm like, don't say that. Because you're speaking that, although you think it's fun and society thinks it's fun, it's not. So stop saying that because that is going to manifest. So you have to be careful what you say.
Because you can speak against yourself.
Yeah, and not even know that out of play, you're literally speaking death over yourself. Like, stop that.
You're spot on. Because
it reminds me of something we went over weeks ago when those dudes was acting like priests and trying to take these demons out of people just in the Lord's name, and they thinking it and wondering why it's not working. Yeah, and like it's not working for them, and they're wondering why. Well, I mean, I've just seen Yahusha do this, and it worked for him. Well,
I've seen his disciples do it.
I've seen them do it too, and it worked for them. Like, why is it not working for us? Because you're doing something that you've just seen. You're doing it with no merit, with no faith.
It's a ritual.
Yeah.
You're doing it on somebody else's faith.
Somebody
else's account.
You're just saying something that you heard and not knowing what it is that you're saying, or knowing the meaning of it.
And because there was one thing that I left out on that teaching. So if you go back and you actually read the accounts, now those guys tried, Xiii and them, they tried to cast out that devil, right? Mm-hmm. But of course they didn't have the appropriate faith. They was trying to get off on somebody else's faith. But there were others that actually cast out in the name of Yahushua that was not a part of the disciples.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Because it's part of what were they doing that for. Their reason for doing it was because they seen how big the disciples was getting, how big a name. They were trying to get that same type of fame, that you could say, for that reason. They were in it because they wanted to be that just
Exalted.
have their name known. Yeah,
Wow,
exalted.
that is really, really, really good.
Mhm.
You see, a
Right.
lot of people are like that nowadays.
Just, it's depends on the reason what you're
Wow.
doing these things for. It's like I had a discussion with my mom. She was like, it's not good to pray for money. I said, you could pray for money, but it depends on what you're trying to use that money for. Like if you praying for money because you want to buy a new car so you can stunt on somebody, like you ain't gonna get that. That's not it. But if you praying for money so you can buy a car so you can have a means for transportation for work in the wintertime because
Yeah.
you know it's gonna be a cold winter, then you go get that.
Right.
It depends on what you're praying or how you're coming to about it.
Right.
If you're praying for a righteous thing, you'll get it. If it's unrighteous, it's not gonna happen.
Well, I mean, sometimes the Most High, he'll give you that thing.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
so,
yeah.
just so he'll
Yeah.
make sure that you just lose it real quick.
Mhm.
You won't get to
Just so
enjoy
he
it.
can show you an example of how fast you'll lose it.
Right.
Yeah, because people have that covetous mind, like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, I got to do this. I'm trying to keep up with the Kardashians or the Joneses, because the Kardashians just switched the whole term up. Now it's keeping up with Kardashians,
Yeah.
right?
Instead of keeping up with the Jones.
Right, and then they try to keep up with our people with all these fake surgeries and this and that, everything. Ain't nothing real about it.
Yeah.
Okay. I know y'all gotta go. So Matthew 12, verse 37, for by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. You know, we take it a step further. By your thoughts you shall be justified, and by your thoughts you shall be condemned. Because you can't speak it without thinking it first. Like, so we even have to, even Hezekiah had to put his mind, his thoughts into subjection. Because the emotions can overrun you. Now, due to YAH'S and even in the Bible, it tells you that in the Eastern mind, that the kidneys is where the seat of the emotions are at. So you got your mind, you got your brain, and you got kidneys.
Mm.
So you have to find the way to dominate, to take dominion over all three.
Wow.
Because your brain, right? Your brain only does what your mind tells it to do. So like there's a separation between those. And then with the kidneys are running your emotion, you got to make sure that it's being regulated properly. Like that's why this is Marpe, the branches of healing. We're going to get into that here in a minute. So we're going to go back to Isaiah 38 so we can finish this out. Almost finish it out. It said, verse 17, Isaiah 38, verse 17, behold, for peace I had great bitterness, but thou hast in love to my soul delivered it from the pit of corruption, for thou hast cast all my sins behind thy back. Remember earlier, he said that he had cut off his life like a weaver. So this sickness came upon him because of his sins, right? But then he believed the second report of Isaiah, and now the Most High, he's what cast his sins behind him, right? Behind his back. Verse 18, for the grave cannot praise thee, death cannot celebrate thee. They that go down into the pit cannot hope for thy truth, right? Only for the living, right? That's why Yahuwah was like, let the dead bury the dead. The living, he shall praise thee, as I do this day. The Father of the children shall make known thy truth. Yahuwah was ready to save me, therefore we will sing my songs to the stringed instruments all the days of our life in the house of Yahuwah. So he's using his pay action, he's activating, he's praising him in advance, right? He's speaking things that are not as though they were, right? So, how did Yahuwah heal Hezekiah? And what are the branches?
The ones you just named, branches.
I ain't named no branches yet. You trying to be snake? No.
And how did he heal him? He went back to his faith. That's how he's going to heaven, or he's going to receive
Right,
heaven.
because he does supernatural things with our faith, right?
Mm-hmm. Got to get back to the faith.
Okay. Let's actually find out how the Most High healed him. The last two verses. Jessica, if you don't mind. Or if you're busy, June can read it.
Oh, no, I'm not. I just, we was at Isaiah 38, right?
Yep. Yes. Verse 21 and 22.
For Isaiah had said, let them take a lump of figs and lay it for a plaster,
Plaster.
upon the boil, and he shall recover.
Wait, hold on. He was sick unto death. He had boil or boils. And the Most High said to put what on it?
Lots of things. Figs, lump of figs.
Figs.
Lay it for, like a paste almost, right?
Right, but a paste from what? From the figs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 22. And Hezekiah also had said, what is the sign that I shall go up to the house of Yahuwah? We know that he did the 10 degrees backwards, right? So he said to use figs to heal him when he was about to die. Where figs come from?
Trees.
Trees come from what?
The earth.
A seed.
So it wasn't just, now, let me go back. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. Let me go back.
Yes.
Let me go back. Okay. I'm gonna go back to, no, 2 Kings, the 2 Kings one. So 2 Kings, he said, turn again and tell Hezekiah, the captain of my people, this is Yahuwah speaking, thus saith Yahuwah, the Elohim
Yes.
of David, thy father, I have heard thy prayer, I have seen thy tears, behold, I will heal thee. On the third day thou shalt go up into the house of Yahuwah. So he said that he will heal him. But then how did he heal him though?
On the third day.
Through what? We just read it.
Without figs.
With something from the earth. Something from the earth, he healed him.
Boiled some figs and turned it
Into a paste. Put it over the boil
Over the boil
and healed him.
and healed it.
And healed him, right? So again, Hezekiah's faith, this is Marpe, the branches of healing. Okay. So I'm going to go back to Genesis 1, right? I'm going to read verses 28 through 29. It says, and Elohim blessed them and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And Elohim said, behold, I have given every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. So the Most High made him go back to the beginning, something natural. So we don't always have to take these medications. We don't have to take these jabs. Sometimes it's simple things that can deliver us from things that they claim is incurable.
Yeah.
Right? Because we even know that Marpe means healing, a cure, right? But you got to have a sound mind to realize that maybe you need to change something. Maybe it is your diet. Maybe it's your sleeping habits. Maybe you need to exercise more. We got to stop being so stubborn and in our flesh about certain things, and finally evolve and make the changes that we need to make.
Mm-hmm.
We're just sitting idle, like.
Because that's what we was conditioned and learned to do.
Right.
You know, wait for the Lord to come to you, and your prayers shall be answered.
Because you know what's crazy. So if you go to like a lot of these televangelists that like they have these big time ministries across the world, like they'll start, like I got one guy that won't stop calling my phone, right? No matter what I do, I change number, somehow he'll still get the number. And he'll always use these things, like these scriptures, but then he won't show how the Most High actually healed her. Oh, I've heard thy prayers and I've seen thy tears and I will heal you. You're not gonna finish it off? How the Most High actually healed him? You're just gonna do whatever? I'm just like, people, but people don't read, so they don't know these things.
Wow.
You know, they want you to just wait and wait. You know what happens when you keep waiting? You keep sending money to these ministries, and you keep filling their coffers, and they start buying multi-million-dollar jets and mansions.
Wow.
Right.
Wow, that's really deep though, because like if you think like everybody that goes around, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and heal you, but if they read, they know that okay, so if this person that is sick believes you to heal them, they're not putting their faith in the Most High to heal them. They're putting their faith in a person that says they have that healing power to heal them, instead of saying, I believe that Yahuwah is gonna heal me. Like, wow, that's a whole
And
lesson.
the crazy thing about it is, like, I'm coming to the realization that Yahuwah be healing people. but they don't accept it. They go back
That's
right
good.
into the circumstances that put them in that situation, and then they have to get re-delivered from something that the Most High has already
Deliver
healed
them
you from. Right? So we're going to go to
Wow.
Ezekiel 47:12. Now this is a future prophecy about what it's going to be like in the kingdom, right? Ezekiel 47:12, and it reads, by the river upon the bank thereof,
Couple minutes, right?
excuse me, and by the river upon the bank thereof, on this side and on that side, shall grow all the trees for meat, whose leaf shall not fade, neither shall the fruit thereof be consumed. It shall bring forth new fruit according to his months, because their waters they issue out of the sanctuary, and the fruit thereof shall be meat for you, and the leaf thereof for medicine. Even in the kingdom they're going to be for medicine. But no, people want to take all these different medications, be on 11 medications, and wonder why you can't constipate yourself. You know, why you get so constipated. You know, wonder why you can't exercise. You can't function because you're on so many mood stabilizers and pain medications that you don't realize you got extra demons on you.
Yeah, that right there.
Because people don't want to change. Like, people are getting, like, these demons, these low vibrating spiritual beings have moved in and they live there. And you know what happens? People, they get accustomed to it. It's like their family. Because people don't want to work to have a sound mind. People don't want to activate the marpay that the Most High is trying to give us. People are just so comfortable in misery. They want to always be seen as the victim.
Comfortable and lazy, because a lot of folks just don't like to read.
And comfortable with going through what they're going through because they like the attention.
They always want to be a victim.
Right.
Oh, it's always was me when the Most High didn't heal you from this, or He didn't give you a dream or vision or word about what you should do, but you're too scared. You know, or like you said, they just like always having people having to help them. Like, but Yahuwah, he helps those that do what? That help themselves. Right? Okay, so we're going to go to Proverbs 15. We're going to read verse 17. Psalms 104. And we're going to read verse 14. We're almost done. Okay. Proverbs 15, verse 17. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a stalled ox and hatred therewith. So, now, of course, this is the context of you don't want to be eating with people that hate you, right? But still, better is a dinner of herbs with a loved one that's trying to help you get better.
Wow.
You know, than eating meat with somebody that hates you and that knows that if you keep doing these things, you're going to end up back in the hospital.
Right.
It's a love thing. And people don't want to understand these things. Like, they don't. Psalms 104, verse 14. He causeth the grass to grow for the cattle, and herb for the service of man. The problem is, we don't want to think that herbs are for our service anymore. We want meat. We want, shalom, shalom. Thank y'all for coming. We want meat. We want bread. We want processed food. We don't want anything that's going to be helpful to us. We want what we think tastes good, even though our particular bodies cannot process it. And if you're eating meat every meal, every day, we're wrong.
Yeah.
And we wonder why we can't get better. We can't lose weight.
It'll mess you up for real. Like, I ran into an old high school friend. I said, man, listen, I'm tired of eating this good tasting stuff. And ending up with these horrible results, man. I've got to change my eating habits. I ran into him like, 3 or 4 months ago, man. I was telling him, like, I've been doing a lot of fasting and all of this, man, because, like, and it'll give you clarity, like, everything will start to taste different. You start eating the raw fruits and vegetables, like, it just it tastes good to you. It starts to just taste actually good.
And you're actually giving your body a chance to purge itself of the bad stuff. But if you keep eating all this stuff and all this fried food, all this grain, all this meat, all this bread, all this cheese, all this dairy, and you never flush yourself out, you wonder why you have inflammation out the wazoo, high cholesterol, high blood pressure,
It's too much of an
schizophrenic, you wonder why you can't sleep, you wonder why you have mood disorders, this and that. And when the Most High is actually bringing situations and people, even doctors will tell you, you need to change your diet. but you don't want to listen to that. You know, as soon as you hear a report from somebody else that think they know something, you're gonna just go be like the chaff to every wind of pharmaceutical doctrine, of dietary doctrine. Instead of like it literally just says, he causes the grass to grow for the cattle and herb for the service of man. You won't even let what the Most High has created for our service serve you. Because you're selfish. Because we're comfortable. Because it's just so much more convenient to eat out, to eat fried foods. We don't want to go through the process of allowing our body to adjust to the healthy stuff because it actually tastes better. Like, even if you go to doctors right now, they will tell you, if you want to live a healthy life, the best thing to do is to have an 80% fruit to raw vegetable diet, maybe 20% meat and all this other stuff. But in this culture, in America, we're completely backwards. It's probably 90% eating out and all the bad stuff and maybe 10%.
Because some doctors will tell one patient, you need to eat more red meat, and then tell another patient that, well, you need to stop eating meat altogether.
Like, we know there's a color ratio on that, yeah.
But
so, again, this is Hezekiah's faith, Marpe, the branches of healing. So, we know that the healing for Hezekiah happened to through the figs, right? The fig is actually a tree when it grows. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. What is the tree of life?
tree of life. I guess the tree could have been a literal tree, but like just everything that's bearing fruit, every tree that's bearing fruit, basically, or could be.
Okay, so if that's the tree of life, then what are the branches?
Branches are. What are the branches like represent, or what's on the branches?
Yeah. Just your honest opinion.
I gotta think about this.
Okay. Okay.
But like the tree of life on a spiritual aspect for me would be my faith, and the branches of my faith is my mind, because I know it starts there, and then my marpe or my pay action, because I know that could be a branch, and as well as I guess my actions too, because I mean we have to do the work to get all the healing that we need, so that could be a representation of the tree of life.
Okay, I mean, all of those answers are good, like spot on. But for one, you are the branches. I am the branches. Jessica, all of us were the branches. So we're going to go to Jeremiah 11, and we're going to read 16 and 17, my bad, if you don't mind reading that.
Yahuwah called thy name, a green olive tree, fair and of goodly fruit, with the noise of a great tumult or tumult. He hath kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken.
So what is the branches of it are broken? Read the next verse. What does that mean?
For Yahuwah of hosts, or Yahuwah Sabaoth, that planted thee, hath pronounced evil against thee, for the evil of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah, which they have done against themselves to provoke me to anger in offering incense unto Baal.
So basically, you can okay, so the tree of life is Yahusha. I'll just jump to that. It's Yahusha, right? So we will be branches. That's why he says that the branches were cut off, because they were worshiping somebody else, right? So the tree of life is Yahusha. We are the branches, right? This is Marpe, the branches of healing, right? Okay, so we're going to go to Revelations 22. We're going to read verses 1 and 2. And it reads, and he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb. In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life, right? That goes back to Genesis, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were on for the healing of the nation. So at the physical level, that's talking about herbs, right? Spiritual level, we know that that's talking about the Israelites, because there's 12 tribes, right? 12 manner of fruit. We are the branches, right? So in this day, we have to be marpe to people. We have to be healing to people and to our families, right? Because we're supposed to be the ones that are for the healing of the nations, right? Okay, now we're going to go back to Genesis really quick. Genesis 2, read verse 9. And out of the ground made Yahuwah Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life also is in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So the problem is, we have 2 trees to eat from. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't a literal tree. It was never a literal tree.
The tree of life was in the midst of the garden.
Right, right. So
That verse that we came from made this one come together.
Mm-hmm.
Or make sense.
Mm-hmm. So like that's how you know, even know about Paul and David's faith when we're talking about dominion over your mind, this and that. Well, there's 2 trees to eat from. The tree of life, which is Yahusha, obedience, the tree of the law of sin and death, which is death eternal. So the tree of life, again, is Yahusha. Now,
What was that? Genesis 2:9?
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Genesis 2:9.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. See, it said the tree of life is also in the midst.
Yep.
The midst.
Yeah, right in the middle.
Which midst.
You can miss it.
Well, midst means to it's of motion. You said Yahuwah is the tree of life,
Mhm.
so he gave us the breath of life.
Mhm.
The Most High did, so it was within them,
Always.
and they're the ones moving in motion because.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
And I said the last verse made that one just come together.
Okay. So we're going to go to Psalms 1 because David even understood these things. Verses 1 through 3. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the Torah, or in the truth of the Most High, the instructions of the Most High, the law of Yahuwah. And in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth fruit, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Wait, we just read that, didn't we? Didn't we just read that?
Yeah.
And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Right? Okay, we're gonna go back to Revelation 22 really quick. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb. In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were all up for the healing of the nations. David already knew these things. Like, that's why he talked about the tree that's planted by the waters, or the rivers of living water. He knew these things, bro. Like, we just got to get back to that ancient mind to understand these things. I just be rereading stuff, and I'm like, oh, wow. Just like, okay, I see what you're talking about. Paul and David's faith, man. Them dudes was way ahead of their time. So now, we're going to go to Proverbs 13. We're going to read verses 2 and 12. And Proverbs 15, and we're going to read verse 4. And Proverbs 11 and verse 30, if you don't mind.
A man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth, but the soul of the transgressors shall eat violence.
So what does it mean? What is the fruit of your mouth?
The fruit of your mouth, the good things that you speak.
The words, right? Because by your words you either be justified or condemned, right? Okay.
But the soul of the transgressors shall eat violence.
Right.
So, transgressing.
You're going to die.
Yeah.
Or it's going to become, you're going to have a chaotic life.
That too.
Okay.
Because that's what I was thinking at first. Just your life is going to be hectic. 12. Hope deferred maketh the heart sick. But when the desire cometh, it is a tree of life.
So wait, isn't that just what happened to Hezekiah? Because first he got the report that he was going to die,
Yeah.
and he immediately turned to the wall or the altar.
First thing he did was went to him.
Right, prayed, and then all of a sudden he got the word that I've heard your prayers and seen your tears, and that I will heal you. And then what happened? He got 15 years added to him, so he got the tree of life. He got an extended life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now read Proverbs 15 and verse 4.
All right. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life.
So your words is a tree of life?
A wholesome tongue is a tree of life.
Nay, and I say, but a wholesome mind is a tree of life. The word, you got to watch the conversations that you have about yourself in your mind. You gotta talk back to them. Like, nah, you got to tell them like, hey, no, ain't going to be none of that up in here. No, you got to go. You can go to somebody else's head.
You have to have a sound mind that forms sound words.
Because you got to hold fast the form, like you said, of sound words. The problem is people don't want to, like, because it's a towering battle in your mind. And people don't want to do it. They don't. They're just used to getting ruled over instead of taking their dominion back. You know, again, this is Hezekiah's faith, Marpe, which means healing, the cure, the remedy, the branches of healing. And you just read the whole verse
Let
for
me read
me.
the rest of it. I'll start from the beginning. For a wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness, or perverseness, therein is a breach in the spirit.
Right. So if one's the tree of life, and then the perverseness is the exact opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's getting you to the point to where you're going to die, whether physically or spiritually or mentally. Okay. Read Proverbs 11, verse 30.
The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life,
Hezekiah, what happened to him, right?
and he that winneth souls is wise.
So this whole thing has been about the branches of healing, Marpe. You know, we know you have to use your faith. You got to activate your faith. You can't believe their report. You got to make changes. You can't just stay the same, eat the same, exercise the same, and expect changes. The Most High, He can do supernatural things, but guess what? He doesn't always do supernatural things. To be honest, very rarely does He do supernatural things right now. Unless you're getting to a spiritual level with Him. And I'm not just talking about, oh, I pray all the time, this is that, and then there's nothing to back what you're saying. There's been no changes. I don't want to hear all that, because you're not. You're lying. You can't be praying like that. Or if you're praying, then you're not acting on your faith.
Yeah, you're not putting actions in on your prayer, because we're so used to
Wait on Jesus. Wait on Jesus.
Wait on Jesus and your salvation will come. But if you're reading in scripture, you'll learn everybody that prayed had an action behind what they were doing.
Right.
They had to do something.
Right.
Like when Moses was leading Israel away from the captivity, and they had started talking crazy against the Most High, and the Most High sent serpents out there to bite them.
Boy.
And poison them. And those that were poisoned were scared of the death and scared of the snakes. And they went to Moses, and they asked Moses to speak to the Most High for a healing. So he did. And the Most High told him to put this snake on this staff and tell them whoever goes up to this snake, they will be healed. So in order for them to receive their healing, they had to do something. They had to go up to the snake and look upon it to be healed.
So they had to face their fears.
Yeah.
They had to go through the water and look at their reflection like,
Yeah.
God, man, our sins brought these snakes
They
upon
had
us.
to face that ailment that was killing them and look it in the eye and be healed from it.
Yeah. Because for greater is He that is within me than he that is within the world. Right? If you got the faith of a mustard seed, we just read, you can move mountains. But they didn't have faith back then. They didn't. Like Moshe had to create that brazen serpent.
Like some folks think they got all the faith in the world. I mean, there's a difference between thinking you have faith and actually having it.
Yeah, there's a big difference between talking faith and actually walking in faith. People don't walk it like they talk it, but they be talking it. And they be talking it good too.
Yes, they do. They do.
You know, you're always going to change this, you're always going to change that, but every time it gets a little hard, not even really hard, you cave. Do you really want to be delivered? Do you really want to be saved? Do you really want to take the new form that Yahushua's trying to give us? The deliverance, because again, he's been healing people, but people haven't accepted it. Yaki, I think I showed you the video too. He talked about it. You have to be delivered physically, mentally, and spiritually.
All three.
And the Most High, he will heal you physically. He will heal you spiritually. But he'll leave it up to you to get that mental straight. But you won't do it because you're so comfortable and wallowing and not truly having faith in the Most High to deliver you. Then what happens? You put yourself in the same situations, and that same thing or something worse comes up on you.
Yeah. And folks are just too used to, looking and seeing the badness that's
Right.
happening, and
Yep.
they can't get over the fact that I can see this ailment happening to me. I'm looking at it right now, but I've never seen the Most High God, so I'm gonna go with this doctor I just seen instead of what I have never seen. But I'm still have faith though, I'm a believer. I'm just gonna check on this doctor real quick, or whatever the case might be. Like it couldn't even be that; it could just be any situation, not even health-wise. Because the Most High deliver you from anything, any dangers, any ailments, but you gotta have discernment first of all.
Yep. Because they talk about common sense, but discernment definitely ain't common. It's not.
Because he will deliver you from danger, but you gotta know, you gotta have discernment to know, like, that danger can occur wherever it may be. I mean, you hanging with folks that you know is dealing in stuff that you ain't trying to deal with, but you want to go hang with them anyway,
Right.
and you know how they are. Something bad happens, but you knew this. You knew how this person was. Just don't put yourself in certain situations where you don't need to be.
Right.
Especially if they're not dealing in a righteous manner, not trying to pursue the Most High. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Like I'm not kicking it with everybody. I'm not chilling with everybody. No, not like I used to back in the day. Like no, like if you ain't trying to get in this book, get in this word, get in this scripture, and get the true meaning of life and living and what it's about, and that's praising the Most High and giving Him His glory, like just keeping the statutes and the laws. I'm not finna put too much time with you, because I'm not trying to stray away again and be on that same track that I was back before I came into the truth. I refuse. So if there's anybody out there that miss me, that's why.
Come to the truth and you'll find them. So, with all that being said, how is the brain constructed?
It's the brain.
Yeah, we only got one more slide.
Constructed. Brain formed through. Folks that say that the brain runs the mind, but the brain is just a body part. The mind runs the brain. So it's constructed through how the mind would construct.
So, again, today's Sound Mind has been about Hezekiah's faith, Marpe, the branches of healing. The branches of healing. The branches of healing. So, you can't make this up. I just Googled this. You can't make this up. This is the last slide.
It looks like a tree with branches on it.
Your blood vessels are a tree in your mind, in your brain. That's why it's important to make sure that you're eating from the good fruits of your mouth. Because if the kingdom of heaven is within us, then shouldn't we be speaking life to ourselves? Like, look how intricate these vines are. Look, branches here, branches there. Everything is a branch. Why do you think Yahushua had the parable about the fig tree?
Looks like an actual tree with branches coming off of it.
The branches of healing, because it's all inside of you, but you got to have a sound mind to realize it and to actually put your mouth into subjection, put your brain into subjection, put your mind into subjection, put your kidneys or your kilya or your emotions, energies, emotions into subjection. You got to do that. But it's in you. Like, that's why, like, this book is so much more than just stories and accounts. You start looking stuff up like Tree of Life. Okay. So the Tree of Life is in everybody. Like, that's what that shows you. Like, the Tree of Life is in everybody. But people don't grasp hold of it. Because, again, they just go talking all crazy about themselves, speaking death on themselves, and eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which puts you at the what? Underneath the law of sin and death. People don't want to choose life, because choosing life is a battle, but choosing death is easy.
It is.
Being miserable and being negative all the time, and it's always somebody else's fault. Somebody else is always a victim, and never taking responsibility. That stuff is easy.
Mm-hmm. Because you have this sense of doing whatever you want, as opposed to choosing life. You don't get to do whatever you want.
Right. And somebody else has to do everything for you. You get too comfortable with
Once you
that.
change your mindset, you realize that this is something you should want. Because everything that we want now, or want it now, when you aren't in the truth, and like everything that you want now, all of that stuff is just forced upon you to make you think you want it. Just like with the serpent and Eve. She didn't desire that tree. She was learned or taught to desire that tree, talked into being desired by that tree, to either the fruit or whatever. But that's just like
Grass is always
everybody
green.
around here that's alive today. Like everything that's why commercials push so hard with their advertising. That's why they advertise, to make you want something that you didn't even know existed or didn't even think about wanting until they made it look good to you, made it desirable to you. So, but what's desirable to me now is just getting in the right standing with the Most High. So I'm not worried about nothing else. But
And then, like, to go back to this, just to try to finish it for today, like Yah'S Awakened. If you haven't checked out his YouTube channel, check it out. He was a disciple of Dr. Sebi, herbalist or healer.
good herbalist too.
And he talks about how your cells, your blood, all that stuff has memory. So when you get healed from trauma, that's the reason why things have to go through your kidneys, because it has to go through from your kidneys through your lymphatic system and come out of you. But if you don't get to the point to where you go through the water and look at your reflection or look at that brazen serpent, like in the secular world, they'll say that if you think of things in the past feelingly, it is to reinfect yourself. But that's what ends up happening. Because that's a secular theology, but that's literally what happens. Because the Most High will send healing to people, but then they won't accept it. Because they haven't done the purging that they need to do. They haven't taken hold of their marpé, of the healing of the cure. Because they think that these wounds, these deadly wounds, are incurable. And we know that's a lie. Anything can be cured in this earth.
Because they believe in what they've been told.
Right. And then to take it even a step further, some of these other doctors that I've been looking into, they literally talk about how, like, all these cells and organisms, right? Cells or many selves, that blew my mind. But anyway, they all have literal branches that come out and feel and like disseminate information, do everything. So everything is branches. So the reason why people can't, because they say we have 150 trillion cells. And all of them have branches that'll come out to try to decipher information. But if we're not cleansing our bodies,
That makes sense.
and our mind, because again, Yah'S really talks about this, and our spirit, that's why you can't cleanse one without cleansing the others. You have to do, that's why you have to go through the water, you have to look at your reflection, and you got to be honest with yourself. You got to be intimate with the Most High and have Him purge you. You can't just stay there. Like, it's not something that you just get over with in one day. You've been dealing with this for 30-some years. You've been dealing with this for half of your life. And you just want the Most High to do something supernatural when emotionally you can't even control yourself. Like, you don't even make sure that your kidney is working properly in order to be able to control your emotions. Because we won't go back to eating the herbs and the plants to get ourselves back stabilized and centered, right? Because we weren't given a spirit of fear, but of power and love and of a sound mind. But the problem is people want to give their power to fear, to anxiety, to depression, to sickness, to disease, to generational curses of bad, broken relationships, of abuse, of torment. That's where everybody wants to put their faith in.
Even the loss of hair.
Everything. Everything. Because people don't really want to face themselves. They don't.
That's the tough part right there.
When the tree of life is in your words, it's in your thoughts, it's literally in the blood vessels in your brain. It's in the Word made flesh. But people won't even pick up the Word. Instead, they live in the flesh of the old man instead of being reborn and taking on a new form. There's levels to it, but you gotta want it more than the pain that you've endured. You gotta believe that the grass is gonna be greener once the Most High completely purges and renews your mind, renews your heart.
It's just like, it's just like a job that you would
Right.
work today. I mean, if you sick and you're looking for that healing, and you're not going to the Most High yourself, instead you're going to whatever pastor and priest to get that healing, instead of going to the Most High. Well, like a job, when you work at a job, the only way you go get paid is if you clock in.
Right, gotta clock in.
And you can't call the homie, hey man, you mind working for me, and expect the homie to work for you, and you still get paid.
Right.
And he don't get nothing. He working
Right.
for free.
Yeah.
Nah, don't work like that. You have to put in that work.
That's like living on somebody else's faith.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's all it is. Like, you can't live off somebody else's faith. You can't live off somebody else's prayer. But even though you can have folks pray for you, but don't depend on that solely to work for you.
Yep.
It's like you said, like, people didn't accept the healing when Yahushua healed them. I mean, they basically not accepting the prayer when people are praying for you, because you're not having that faith to, put in your work or do what needs to be done.
everybody just wants something quick and easy, just like fast food.
Yeah.
They want a fast food healing. They want a drive-through healing is what they want. That's what people want. They think the Most High, he's just like a drive-through. That's it. It's gonna be a drive-through healing. I'm not gonna have to do anything. Even Hezekiah had to get figs turned into a plaster or a paste
Process.
and put it on him, right? Even though it was only 3 days, right? But still, what if he wouldn't have done that? He would have died. He would have died. But he had to do something.
Yeah.
And it was outside of secular medicine. It was from the earth.
But the enemy is crafty and they clever.
I'm tired of giving the enemy power, man. They are not more crafty than the Most High, because he gives us wisdom. And with all that getting, get understanding. The problem is people don't want to seek wisdom, and people don't want to get understanding. They don't. That's why they go off of what every doctor says, and they don't do any research. They don't do nothing. They just want to take medications and be in the same situation their whole life. I'm not doing that no more. I'm done, dude. You cannot say that you're doing everything in your power to get better if you're not even researching, if you're not even trying to change stuff. Just don't say it. Just don't lie. Just don't.
Yeah.
Just cut it out. I get it. Everybody's given a measure of faith. Maybe you're at your limit. Maybe that's what it is. And just be honest with yourself. And if that's what the case is, ask the Most High to give you more. Because he said, the asking you shall receive, the seeking you shall find, the knocking it shall be opened unto you. But people have not because they ask not, or they ask amiss. They don't know what to ask for. Or they're too scared to ask for something.
Because they're too afraid that they might not receive.
That's really going to change their situation. Think about it. But when you don't control your brain with your mind, and you go on autopilot, and one of these spirits or these many spirits start controlling your autopilot. So, because like this is one thing I just started experimenting with. Like how many times like my mind will just try to just blank out. And I'm like, nope, no, we ain't doing that. You know, I'm not about to go do this. I'm not going over there. But just watch. You got to be watchful. And people, because like you said, it's a 24/7, 25/8, 378 daytime job.
I know exactly what you mean.
Because it's not for the faint-hearted. That's why everybody can't grasp hold of a sound mind.
Because it's everyday work. It really is, man. Everyday work.
And sometimes even in your sleep, you get a dream, you're like, wait a minute, no. Hey, goodbye. Like, no, we ain't, I'm not having that. Even in my dreams, like, no, you ain't about to take over me. Nope. I'm not going back to that. No. What I got is better. I don't need none of that. Like, Hasatan is a liar, and the father of it.
I remember I received a bad dream. I instantly woke up and started praying. I was like, nah, that ain't happening. And went right back to sleep.
Right. You made that all the way up. But, again, this has been Sound Mind, Part 13, Hezekiah's Faith, Marpe, the branches of healing. June, you pray us out?
Abiyah, thank you for bringing us together and bringing us here safe, Abiyah. And watch over us as we part our ways, Abiyah, and keep us safe. And give us the strength to maintain this walk that we are walking in, Abiyah. And thank you for this word today, the discernment and the truth in it, Abiyah. And I pray that we get more people to get here and get an understanding of how you work and how we should work under your will. In your name I pray. Yah. Shalom.
So again, this is YAH'S Assembly, June. Shalom.
Shalom.
Whoa.